Comfort is not relaxing you. It is erasing you. Slowly. Quietly. Every time you choose what feels good instead of what builds you, you lower your authority. Not tomorrow. Now. You think comfort is rest. It's not. It's sedation. It dulls your edge. It softens your standards. It teaches your brain that pressure is optional. And once pressure becomes optional, discipline disappears. And when discipline disappears, authority collapses. Nobody announces it. Nobody sends you a warning. But people feel it. They feel when you avoid tension. They feel when you hesitate. They feel when you speak carefully instead of decisively. Authority is built on internal pressure tolerance. The ability to hold discomfort without flinching. The ability to move forward when you'd rather scroll. The ability to confront when you'd rather stay liked. Comfort trains the opposite. It trains avoidance. It trains delay. It trains emotional negotiation. I'll start tomorrow. It's not the right moment. I'm just tired. Every soft excuse becomes a micro crack in your authority. And cracks spread. The scary part? Comfort doesn't feel like weakness. It feels deserved. It feels justified. It feels normal. That's why it's lethal. Most men don't lose authority because they fail. They lose it because they drift. They get comfortable in mediocrity. Comfortable in distraction. Comfortable in being average. And average presence never commands respect. You can't build power on a soft foundation. You can't demand discipline from others if you don't demand it from yourself. The more comfortable your life becomes, the weaker your edge gets unless you deliberately choose controlled discomfort. Because authority isn't built in ease. It's built in resistance. And in the next part, we break down how comfort rewires your behavior without you even noticing, and how that rewiring destroys your presence. If you're known as the nice guy, there's a high chance you're also the easiest to ignore. And nobody will ever say it to your face. They'll compliment you. They'll call you kind. They'll say you're reliable. But when real decisions are made, when authority matters, when direction needs to be set, you're not the first voice they look at. Why? Because being nice is often a disguise for avoiding tension. And men who avoid tension rarely hold status. Let's be clear. Kindness is not weakness. But compliance is. And most nice behavior is rooted in compliance, not strength. You soften your opinion to avoid disagreement. You laugh things off instead of correcting them. You say it's okay when it's not. You tolerate small disrespect because you don't want to seem dramatic. And those micro moments build a pattern. People start to categorize you subconsciously. Safe. Predictable. Non-threatening. And non-threatening rarely commands respect. Status is not built on how pleasant you are. It's built on how solid you are. Solid men don't need to dominate. They don't need to raise their voice. They don't need to intimidate. But they don't bend easily either. They don't over-explain their boundaries. They don't apologize for having standards. They don't dilute their position to maintain comfort. The nice guy often does all three. Not because he's evil. Because he wants approval. Approval-seeking subtly shifts your posture, your tone, your energy. You start speaking with upward inflection. You hesitate before disagreeing. You add unnecessary qualifiers. Maybe. I guess. If that's okay. Those small signals lower perceived authority immediately. Humans are wired to respond to clarity and certainty. When you constantly aim to be liked, you sacrifice clarity. And when clarity disappears, so does status. You don't lose respect because you're polite. You lose it when politeness replaces conviction. When harmony becomes more important than standards. When comfort becomes more important than truth. And in the next part, we break down the specific behaviors that quietly turn nice men into background characters instead of leaders. Here's where most nice men sabotage themselves without realizing it. They confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. They think holding back their opinion makes them mature. They think avoiding disagreement makes them stable. But suppressed conviction leaks. It leaks through body language, through hesitation, through microdelays before speaking. And people read that instantly. Status is not about volume. It's about certainty. If your words carry hesitation, they carry less weight. If your decisions sound negotiable, they become negotiable. The nice man often softens everything. He adds disclaimers. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't want to sound rude. It's just my opinion. Those small verbal shields are subconscious signals of insecurity. High-status men don't shield every sentence. They state. They hold. They pause. And that pause communicates internal stability. Another pattern is conflict avoidance disguised as kindness. If someone crosses a boundary, the nice man smiles and absorbs it. He tells himself it's maturity. But repeated absorption without correction builds quiet resentment. And resentment erodes confidence. When confidence erodes, posture changes. Eye contact weakens. Tone softens. You begin to operate smaller than you actually are. And people sense the contraction. Respect is tied to expansion. Expansion of presence. Expansion of clarity. Expansion of standards. If you constantly shrink to maintain comfort, your status shrinks with you. Being respected does not require aggression. It requires alignment. Your words must match your standards. Your standards must match your actions. And your actions must remain consistent under tension. The nice man often breaks alignment under pressure. He agrees publicly and disagrees privately. He tolerates externally and complains internally. That split lowers credibility. High-status men remain congruent. If something is wrong, they say it calmly. If a boundary is crossed, they address it once. Clearly. Without emotional explosion. That clarity builds authority. The key difference is this: strength can afford kindness. Weakness depends on it. When you are internally solid, you can be generous without becoming invisible. But when your identity is built on being liked, you become adjustable. And adjustable men are rarely respected. In the final part, we break down how to remain kind without becoming compliant, and how to replace approval seeking with quiet authority. Here's the truth most men avoid. You don't lose status because you're kind. You lose it because you're afraid to be clear. Clarity creates tension. And tension exposes strength. If you constantly prioritize comfort over clarity, people subconsciously lower your rank. Not because they hate you. Because they don't feel resistance. And without resistance, there is no weight. Authority is not built on how much you give. It's built on how well you hold your ground. A respected man can say no without raising his voice. He can disagree without emotional volatility. He can stay calm while others escalate. That stability signals power. The nice man often tries to avoid escalation completely. He diffuses. He softens. He backs down slightly to maintain peace. But peace without structure creates invisibility. You don't need to become cold. You need to become firm. Firm is different from rude. Firm is controlled. Firm is deliberate. Firm is aligned. When your internal standards are non-negotiable, your tone changes automatically. Your posture changes. Your eye contact holds longer. Your responses become shorter and clearer. You stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You stop seeking validation for your decisions. And that shift alone raises perceived status. The key is this: strength can afford kindness. Weakness depends on it. If you are internally solid, your kindness feels intentional. If you are internally uncertain, your kindness feels like compliance. People can feel the difference immediately. Respect doesn't come from pleasing the room. It comes from being stable inside it. So don't stop being kind. Stop being afraid of tension. Stop cushioning every statement. Stop apologizing for having standards. Replace approval seeking with controlled conviction. Replace compliance with clarity. Replace nice with composed. Because status isn't about being liked. It's about being solid. And solid men don't bend just to stay comfortable.